Ready.
Okay, what I'm doing now is packing the chicken into hot, sterilized jars.
Uh-huh.
You don't want to pack it real thick, real hard, real tight. I usually fill it up to about the shoulder on the rim.
Uh-huh.
Like I say, the chicken is just chunked. It's not real fine, it's not real thick. But you just want to pack it in there. Give it a little pressure, but you don't want to pack it tight. You want the air in between, so when you put the liquid in it to cover the meat, it will go between the meat and the jar.
Uh-huh.
When you pack it in tight, you want it all to be covered, and you want it all to be moist. That way when you bring it out, it's not, some of it's dry where it's been sitting above the water.
Yeah.
You can see I'm not packing it real hard, real tight. I'm feeding Sammy along the way.
And I'm sure he's loving that.
Yeah, he seems to be. I don't hear any complaints. Once you get all the jars packed, you use the stock that you used and fill them with water.
Oh, I was gonna ask about that. Do you do it with water or the?
No, use the stock.
Okay.
Whatever you put in there is gonna get the juice, the grease from what meat is in here. Like I say, I use a lot of dark meat, so it produces a lot of its own natural oil.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got it chunked, part dark, little white. I'm not real dainty with it. I'm not real clean. I do make a mess. If you don't believe it, ask me.
Do you make a mess?
Yes, I do. But this is 10 pounds of leg quarters and about 2 pounds of chicken breasts, and we'll find out how many pint jars of actual meat we get. Out of the 10 pounds of chicken leg quarters, you're probably throwing close to half of that away in bone, gristle, skin, but there's still plenty of meat here. Plenty of stuff to can up. There is nothing scientific about what I'm doing, how much or measured out. It's just put it in there. My canner will hold 9 pints and 7 quarts, so looks like I'm going to get about 9 pints out of this. I'll make it 9 pints anyhow. Jars are hot where you took them out of the boiling water and sterilized them, so keep that in mind. I don't particularly like wide mouth jars. I use the regular mouth jars for just about everything, unless it's something that I want to can whole, like a peach or a pear or something along those lines, where I do want the whole thing in there. I just prefer the regular mouth jars simply because, well, lids are cheaper.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A lot of canning books will tell you to, once you get your jars filled, take a spoon or a special tool and push down in there to get the air out. You don't really have to. Once you get them full and start putting liquid in there, liquid is going to fill all the gaps. find a home for all your meat. That's the expensive part, is your meat. Water don't cost a whole lot. And that's that section.
Okay. We'll be back.
We'll be back. Okay, I got 9 pints out of about 10 pounds of chicken, 13 pounds of chicken. What you do is take the stock that you cook the chicken in. You want to fill it up to leave yourself a ½ inch, which is basically up to the bottom of the threads on the jar. But you want to cover all the meat. Give it a chance to kind of bubble down in through it. That one got a little too much in. What I'm putting in there is just the stock. That's what I cook the chicken in. It's got all the natural juices and the chicken soup stuff for your soul. Alright, all the chicken is covered. That's what you're wanting.
Okay.
And then the next step is you want to get a paper towel or clean wash rag. You want to wipe the top of the lids off, top of the jars off. That's where the seal is made. That's where you need to have a clean seal on it, a good seal on it. Will be the top of the jar is going to be clean. And then the rubber on the inside of the canning lid will make the good seal as you process it in the pressure cooker, canner. Basically they're one and the same. It's a pressure cooker that's big enough to put jars or pint jars, quart jars, whatever it is, size your canner. That one got a little too much in. You want to leave head space at the top. When you put this stuff in the hot water to can it, it will expand. And you don't want it to expand out. It doesn't really hurt it too much, other than it will leave your water full of the chicken juice. I have exploded one in the pressure cooker while I was canning because it was too full. So that's where you're at now.
Okay.
Next step is get your rings and lids. Put a ring and a lid on each one. You don't want to put it on over tight, just good hand tight. You can tighten it up, or it will tighten up when it's put in the pressure cooker under pressure.
So you put the flat thing in the lid thing.
These are called lids. They have a rubber seal here.
Okay.
This is like a enamel or some kind of, it's not anything that absorbs the taste or the smell, but it doesn't make you sick. Put the lid inside the ring or the band, put it on the jar, hand tight.
Okay.
If you do it the way I do it, occasionally you might pick up 2 rings at a time. You only want to get 1 ring in each lid, because if you put 2 in there, chances are better than average you're not going to get a good seal, because it's screwing down one lid on top of another lid, and it doesn't make the good seal. I usually count out the number of jars I've got, the number of rings I've got, and sterilize all that I need. Occasionally I'll get an extra one in there, just in case. Sometimes the rings don't work out too well or don't stick the way they should, and you have to use another ring for whatever reason. Okay, next thing, get a dish rag. You want to kind of wipe off the outside of the jars. Like I say, I'm a sloppy cook. But you want to wipe off the outside of the jars because whatever grease is on the outside will end up in the water in your canner.
Oh.
It's not really a big issue. It doesn't hurt anything, doesn't delay the process or speed up the process. But if you're going to use the water again for another batch, another run, it just kind of messes up the water. While you're wiping them off, make sure you get your lids on there. Like I say, just hand tight. They don't have to be super tight. They will tighten up. The lids will tighten up in the pressure cooker. That's the process. That's what it's supposed to do. But you need the lid to make contact all the way around with the top of the jar. And that's all you're after. I use an old, well, it's not even an old, I use my turkey cooker pan to put the hot stuff in, carry it from the kitchen out to the canner. I have, it's an old high pressure canning, high pressure camp stove that I use to do all this stuff with because there's so much heat. I've got enough heat in the house from doing the cooking. Anytime I can keep heat out of the house, that's what I try and do. All right.
Okay.
Next step is outside.
Out the door. Okay. Got it.
Come on.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
All right. Get your little, you filming?
Yeah.
Get your little handles. They will keep you from burning your hands. Grab it. Put one in. Grab the next one. Keep putting them in. Like I said, I know that my canner will hold 9 pints, and that's what I try and make in the biggest batch is 9 pints. Some people don't like to can with a complete water bath, which means that the lids, the jars are completely covered. What happens? It doesn't make a whole lot of difference if you cover the water or if you leave the water a little bit below the lids. The steam will cook the meat while it's in there. It will all do what needs to be done.
Okay.
So I'm going to take a little bit of that water out. I've got a little bit more in there than what I want.
Okay.